Alright, so today we are going to discuss a new concept called factoring. So please write this down. You should have heard the word factoring before now. Prime factorization is something that you have definitely done. So prime factorization. Anybody have something else that deals with factoring that you can think of? Okay, we have done factor trees. Factor trees actually allow us to do prime factorization. Anybody else have something? How about the greatest common factor? I know. The greatest common factor, all of these are things that you should have heard before. Okay, so if I give you the number 18 and we want to do the prime factorization, a factor tree is something that we can use. We know that 18 is 2 times 9, and 9 can be factored into 3 times 3. So our prime factorization happens when all of the numbers that we are left with are prime numbers. Prime meaning that the only factors it has are 1 in itself. 2 cannot be split into anything else other than 2 times 1. Same for 3. So we can see that 18 factors into 2 times 3 times 3. Now there may be some of you who say, well, 18 can also be factored into 3 times 6. That is also true, because 6 can be factored back into 2 and 3. So we still have the same factors. You can write it any way. I normally write them in smallest to largest, so it is still 2 times 3 times 3. You could say 2 times 3 squared, but I normally write them out. 2 times 3 squared it's not wrong, but okay. Now, if you look at 56, 56 is divisible by 2. It is divisible by 8 and 7. It doesn't matter which way you go. If you do 8 times 7, 2 is still a factor of 8, so we would do 2 times, and then 2 times 2. 7 is already a prime number, so we have 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. Our prime factorization would be 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. And as Nick said, we could write this as 2 to the third times 7. I always write them least to greatest. If you have 24, 24 factors into, what do you want to do first? Okay, we can do 2 times 12. 12 is divisible by 2, so 2 times 6. 6 is divisible by 2 and 3. And so now we have 24 being 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Now, yes, Montana? Is there any way to find this in the calculator? No. If you want to find the GCF or the greatest common factor you would have to find the greatest common factor of 56 and 24. Well, what do they share? Here's a 2, here's a 2. Here's a 2, here's a 2. Here's a 2, here's a 2. Do the 7 and 3 have anything in common? So 2 times 2 times 2, or, be careful, what is 2 times 2 times 2? 8. That is our greatest common factor between 56 and 24. In order to find the greatest common factor, you have to have two terms. 8 goes into 56 and 8 goes into 24. It's the largest possible number that goes into both numbers. The greatest common factor is the greatest or largest number that goes into both of them. That's what common factor means. So I can ask you to find the greatest common factor. What is the GCF of 45 and 81? Well, before we can find the greatest common factor, it helps a lot of times to find the prime factorization. The prime factorization of 45 is what? What definitely goes into 45? 5. 5 times 9. And then 9 is 3 times 3. So my factors for 45 are 3 times 3 times 5. What about 81? It factors into 9 times 9. But what does 9 factor into? 3 times 3 and then 3 times 3. So that factors into 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. What do they share? 2 of them. So the greatest common factor is 3 times 3, or 9. That's what I do. The dot represents your multiplication. The greatest common factor, it's the largest number of common factors. It is how many do we have that factors, prime factors, do we have that they share? How many do we have that they share? They share a 3 and a 3 and then another set of 3s. If they don't share it, then we can't count it. All right. I can also ask you, what is the greatest common factor of 12x squared y and 15x squared y to the third? Well, if we want to talk about doing the common factors of 12x squared y, first of all, how does 12 split up?
4.
4 times 3, and then 4 splits into 2 times 2. So 12x squared y is equal to 2 times 2 times 3. What does x squared mean? X times x, and then we have a y. That's my prime factorization of 12x squared y. I don't want to embarrass anyone in this class, but I'm not writing this for my benefit. Ladies and gentlemen, you need to be writing this down. 15x squared y to the third. 15 is 3 and 5. Can I do anything else with that? So now if I have 15x squared y to the third, then it's 3 times 5. How many x's do I have? 2. And how many y's? 1, 2, 3. So they don't share a 2, right? They share a 3. They don't share a 5. Okay. And 1 y. So my GCF is 3x squared y. Because 3 is the only thing they share. And then x, there are 2 x's that they share, and they share a y. Both of them have 1 y. So your greatest common factor is the greatest number of variables they share. Because we're high school math students. What does 30 factor into? 5, 6, and 5 is a prime number. Is 6 a prime number? 2 and 3. So if I have 30x to the fourth, y to the fifth, then that means I have 2 times 3 times 5. How many x's? And how many y's? 55 is factored into 5 times 11, and 5 and 11 are both prime numbers. Five times 11, and then how many A's? And how many B's? Don't move. My greatest common factor is 5. And do we have any variables that are the same? No. So my greatest common factor is just 5. We're going to do some more on factoring tomorrow. Please make sure you have your notes. Have a great day.